I have
Oh,
here that it's recording.
yes. Hello, Fernando. It's such a pleasure to see you again. Last time I met you in at Super Zoo. How have you been?
I've been good. Thank you for the opportunity, Peggy. Fernando Maluf here, Vice President of International Business at Premier Pet, and been having a lot of opportunities to connect with pet industry members from especially the Americas, not only North America, but also a lot of Latin American countries.
Yeah, nice. I mean, I think there is a big trend also now in Central and South America to more humanization in the dog ownership, isn't there?
I think it follows trends from the US market, and humanization is a big trend. And however, we see much more restrictions in terms of spend, and I think there's also a very big gap of a lot of like mainstream products to a few very high premium products.
What do you mean by that?
I think still the general mass of the
Yes.
population still consumes many low-level kibble brands that are over 50% grain and proteins of high minerals, especially given less developed supply chains and higher prices for proteins in these markets, and a less a more elasticity of price for the consumer. So any change in real price or FX that moves the commodities market will tend for a downgrade of product.
I see. Yes. So very price sensitive still, right?
Yes, correct. Very price sensitive.
Yes. So tell us a bit about your company, what you're doing, and what you're seeing as what is the success story you have so far?
So Premier Pet is a Brazilian manufacturer and has been in the market since the 90s, the early 90s, founded by my father, who was at the time studying in NYU, industrial organization, and
Yes.
saw the growth of IAMs in the market with the increase of premiumization of pet products. This premiumization, he saw there wasn't still a companies in Brazil, especially that were doing it, but it wasn't because of there was a barrier of technology, given the machine suppliers at that time weren't very developed with subsidiaries here, so you have to purchase the good equipments offshore, and currency at that time wasn't as open as today. The economy wasn't as global, so there was a difficulties in bringing the technology to our country, but there was also the non-understanding of the protein supply of quality protein for pet food. So there was a very difficult start to really developing the protein market, the protein market for pet food, especially with offals and visceras and all these
Yes.
healthy organs that have high protein content and low mineral content, which are the first ingredients that animals in the wild eat.
Sure.
And this was where we really drove the success of the companies. We would invest in these facilities of proteins that would making human proteins and didn't have what to do with these very nutrient rich ingredients. They were even having to pay to discard them. So our product was conceived on multiple audits, and even till this day, um, other competitors, they audit the supplier, saying if they supply to Premier Pet, they are audited as a second stage, because we became the reference, and if we audit the supplier, the other people don't have to audit. So supplying to
Wow. Okay.
ourselves is
Yeah.
a kind of a guarantees that the process of the supplier is good.
So you became the benchmark in a way.
Correct. So we became the benchmark, and I think as well for our luck, but as and our strategy. A lot of the multinational brands, they change CEOs with quite a frequency, and the Brazil market is very sensitive to price. I was saying, and a
Yeah.
lot of them wanted to show service and used to want to increase revenue by increasing price, given they
Right.
thought, like Royal Canin thought they were the market leaders and they would be
Yes.
just price, price, price. And ourselves, we have a super premium with Premier and a premium with Golden. So we held our price, and this helped the stability of our pricing strategy, helped the consumer to get confidence and choose our brand over multinational brands.
That is super interesting. So your vision around, because it's a kibble, right? You're producing.
We have kibble, biscuits, prescription diets, wets, prescription diet, wet food,
So,
and we're going to some other categories. Yeah, a whole portfolio over 400 SKUs.
right. So tell us a bit about your sustainability part.
So our sister company, a legacy business of our family, is in the wood panel business. So we do fiber boards for housing, floors, doors, all these
Yeah.
kind of businesses, and that business has a lot of already wood. So we have a lot of forestry in Brazil, and in order to generate the heat the process needs, they burn the eucalyptus because they already have the supply of eucalyptus. So
Yeah.
especially like sediments that are not as good for the boards, or kind of bark that is not
Yes.
used as much as for the board, they keep
Yes.
on burning those, which is a renewable source of thermal energy, and that Premier Pet already inherited once from inception, because we are a newer business. We're in the 90s. We're talking about a business that started in the 30s, and
Right.
uh, and literally we already inherited this technology that other companies didn't have. We say even multinational companies or big national US companies still use oil and gas for thermal energy, which we see has a much bigger carbon footprint.
Footprint. Okay.
Yes.
Very
And
interesting.
and as well, I think through the entrepreneurship of the leadership of our company, we also got into the open market of energy. Right when Enron was in its prime, and we even lost a lot of money with Enron with they're coming to Brazil. But this opened us to the open market of energy. In Brazil, you have the distribution market and the open market. So we already were involved in this, and then in mid to early 2000s, they incentivized sustainable energy,
Mhm.
reducing a tax, that
Right.
one less tax from the government to help grow the sector. And we were already in the open market, so we managed to start buying incentivized energy, which came from renewable sources, especially hydroelectric. So
Perfect.
for many years, we were already in the hydroelectric. And then in 2023, there was another incentive our government incentive, that they were taking another tax for projects that were in construction. So it was the last year of this tax that was incentivized, and new projects weren't going to have. And then through relationships, we there was a reconstruction of a brownfield of the biggest solar facility in the state of Sao Paulo,
Yes.
and we joined both our entities, the wood panel and the pet food one, and we managed to get a third of the supply of this facility. So we got a third, Renault got a third, and a big supermarket got a third. So we, with these three conglomerates, we managed to, and we're talking about 60 megawatt hour, gigawatt hour, megawatt hour of
Yeah.
energy providing. So we're talking about all the two facilities that we have here, plus the four facilities of wood panel, plus I don't know how many supermarkets, and all the car dealerships of Renault on the state of Sao Paulo.
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, what it kind of tells me is that you're very consistent when it comes to your supply chain, right? So you're very aware of, what energy do we use, what ingredients do we use. So you're coming out of the ingredient business actually, originally, right? And you're building up into sustainability. So where do you think sustainability is going to go, and how important is it going to be for the consumer?
I think there's a lot of noise in the market, especially you see new brands of these. The hottest word now in the U.S. market is the fresh. I think
Yes.
fresh dog food is what For a while it was freeze dry, and now I think it's fresh. It
Hmm.
changed slightly,
Yes.
and I think that hopefully we'll find a way to make that more sustainable, because these products are perishable. They're high energy required to keep frozen. They are intense in logistics because you need to keep sending small parcels daily to all these consumers,
Mm.
and you're competing with a human grade, human chain production line. So in our case, we didn't really compete. We collaborated with the human environment, and there's a Time article that says if the pet population was a country, they would be the fifth largest consumption of protein in the world. So US is the first, and then you have a few European countries, and then you have the pet population.
Wow,
We're ta-
amazing.
we're we're talking about like pets eat more protein than a lot of countries. That main like
Yeah.
80-90% of all countries, they eat more protein, and we're looking at a lot of difficulties with a lot of countries having low protein concentration, and really needing these to achieve health. So
Huh.
I think
This
that
is a very interesting perspective. So are you building that into your vision for the company? Is that the part which you kind of think about and how you could basically incorporate that into your future strategy?
So our products were very based in high quality meals and
Mhm.
organs, especially our both our wet and our kibble. They use high quality meals and organs that we have never really advocated to extreme high levels of protein and protein from human consumption.
Yes.
But I think it's very hard to be one fighting an army. So we need a consensus of what is good for the world and what is healthy for the pets. We formulate of based on health requirements. We were the pioneers of specific breeds. Back in 2001, a small company in Brazil developed specific breeds, and then Royal Canine copied and took it globally.
Oh, yeah, I know. I know the concept, the breed concept. Yes.
And we know the needs of the pets. We know the how much protein they require, and the marketers of the US have been comparing a Maltese, a pug, a Frenchie that does 15 minutes of walking per day with a wolf that
Yeah.
needs to be 60 hours fasted trying to find its prey, and we know that it's not comparable. But we're
Comparable.
seeing all these small companion animals ingesting such high levels of protein that is not required, that they even have renal and kidney failures in like midlife that they shouldn't be, and then they have to consume a prescription diet for half of their life, which is much more expensive, just because of how much protein they have been ingesting and not managing to digest in the first 45 years of their life.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. Where does the fresh food and the frozen food fit into that? Because hardly anybody talks about a balanced protein diet for a dog. And as you say, it's a very different question if you feed a Maltese or if you feed a Doberman Pinscher, right? Or a Rottweiler. I mean, this is completely different. So, what's your take on that?
I think that different consumers have different preferences. I think the protein comes when they were trying to make kibble more expensive. So
Mhm.
the protein they sought there against the grain, and let's increase protein. Protein is what the consumer wants. And then came freeze dry and fresh kind of the same time, but I think freeze dry managed to get a boom from the pandemic to 24, but quicker than fresh. But then you see fresh pet and farmer's dog managing already with a lot of marketing spend, Super Bowl ads, TV, NFL, all these kind of trying to change preferences. They're trying to create a category that didn't exist, and the thing is that they're not complementary. They deteriorate the category. So they say
Yeah.
no, kibble is bad.
Yes,
That's
totally.
they are against it. So they're like, you need to eat fresh. Where they're fresh is highly carbon emissions, increases footprint and does not help with any kind of circularity in the economy
Yeah.
and generates a lot of inefficiencies just for a mentality that their dog needs to eat this kind of food.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. So if you look at the consumer, I think because you're doing business in North America too. So what's your vision, of the young consumer? What are they going to look for in terms of food, but also in terms of understanding their pets better? Do you think there is a connection? Because, obviously this industry is evolving and we have AI coming up and, potentially specified recommendations how to feed my dog, right? You just
Yeah.
ask ChatGPT. What role will that play in the future in your perspective?
I think there is the theory, the concrete theory that you see in veterinarian congresses, you see in conferences, you see with a lot of the people who know, and then you have the marketing theory of how do I make this more sexy and appealing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so depends. I think that there needs to be a concession on kind of understanding that what is good versus what is kind of sometimes like the best for the world doesn't really look very good, but it's the best if you look at emissions, if you look at circularity, if you look at even health, it's
Yeah.
actually you're not opening health. But if you have like a lot of marketing money being spent on saying something, then you need it's hard to counteract it without spending a lot of marketing money.
It's true. Absolutely true. So you have entered the US market with your company, right?
Yes, under the Natu Pet Foods brand, which brings Brazilian heritage and a lot of sustainable practices as well as the ethically sourced ingredients.
Right. Has your product been welcomed there? And how does that match the mentality of the current US consumer?
So we are in very developed categories. We are in biscuits and toppers. At
Right.
the moment, we're going to expand our line, and we are a better option of what is already offered. So we have lower glycemic index grains in our, we have brown rice and oats. And then we're now with a grain-free biscuit that we're launching that is sweet potato and pumpkin, the base, and all these have different fruits and ingredients to make it fun. So we want to bring fun into this biscuit category, and like in our view, if we get the one frequency out of a milk bone or any other of these very ready, the pedigrees and
Yes.
the dog chows. If we get one consumption difference, we already have a thesis for ourselves to be a participant in the market. And then with our meal toppers, we bring kind of flavor and gravy to opportunity of kibble, or kind of if there is a requirement for calories during the day, if the pet
Yeah.
is active, then you can give it just as a treat. But it helps with the balancing kind of a main kibble diet with some kind of flavor to help enhance the palatability, as well as add some hydration, add some vitamins and proteins.
Right. That's cool. So because you said before you're working with the vet community as well, right? Especially in Brazil.
Mainly in Brazil. In the US is a bit harder. We have
Yes,
kind
very
of
different.
collaboration between like all the vets that we have in Brazil with counterparts.
Yeah.
But in the US, it's very dominated with Science Diet and Royal Canine and Pro Plan.
Yes, absolutely. And also, of course, a company like Mars owns a lot of the clinics in the
Now with
US.
Anfield and all those VCAs.
And VCAs, exactly. So what is your strategy within Brazil for the vets? So why does the vet support you in Brazil? What's the argument?
We in 2010 created the Association of Brazilian Veterinarian Hospitals. So we helped them get together. We were seed money to help them organize themselves, to help enhance their practices. We do a lot of investment in their clinics. We do a lot of prescription diet collaboration. A lot of the We have over 500 hospitals that partner with us, and all these just feed our product. So I think it's a trust, very much a
It's
trust
the
bound.
Royal Canin strategy or the science plan strategy, just on a different continent.
Could be sometimes I don't know if they copy our strategy or if
Yeah.
you know.
Yes, exactly. But you have a footprint. You have a similar footprint in big Brazil as they do in North America, for example.
For the last 10 years, we have been supporting the Rio Open, the ATP 500 in Brazil, and we
Yes.
bring adoption dogs to the circuit, and they are the ball fetchers for a few of the early stage matches, and then
Oh, this is amazing.
and
Do
we
you
have.
have you can share online, or do you share your videos on that?
Yeah, we have on YouTube. Our first one is from 2014, and we help promote adoption in this event. And this year, I saw that ProPlan became the ATP sponsor for Europe. So
Mm.
I mean, we don't know who is copying who in this stage.
Beautiful, but it's beautiful because that means your idea was great, right?
Yeah,
When I always say,
exactly.
if you're copied, that means you're doing something right, something that works. This is wonderful. So if you can kind of project 5 years, so in five, I'm not mentioning 10 years anymore because we have AI now. So I find that
Hmm.
5 years became like 20 years almost because it's so fast, right? So where do you think this industry is going in 5 years? What's the vision?
I think it will have more categories,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think that one category will really. Um, I think maybe kibble will decrease its proportion on the whole category because now people do mixed feeding, they do different types of feeding. Um, I don't know how the health of pets will be in the long term with these fresh packaged scents. I honestly don't I haven't seen studies of like
Right.
longevity of
Good.
balancing.
Yeah, we have
I
to
think,
wait
like,
and
for
see.
example, how do they know that each of the packs have the right vitamin balance? Like, I look a lot of at machinery, so um, just how the mixture, how they're pumping, most likely this fresh stuff with a meat pumper,
Yeah,
but and they have a mixture prior to that. But how do they guarantee homogeneity? I think like we have a very strong fixation on precision. And how do you know that uh, your guaranteed balance is in every bag? And we've been like perfecting this with a lot of pharmaceutical equipments to minimal precision, minimal levels of variance. Because if you see, imagine a vitamin C that you're prescribed 1,000 milligrams per day, and
yes.
then one tablet has 50 milligrams, the other one has 5,000 milligrams. And
Yeah,
this
very different, right?
we see this in the industry. A
Of
lot
course.
of companies really don't even know what they're selling, and it's sad to say, but a lot of people don't. A lot of companies don't even know what they're selling.
You know, you're making a very good point, Fernando, because I used to be the distributor for Germany for Eukanuba and Iams, and when it was still owned by Procter and Gamble. And Procter and Gamble taught me that, right? So it taught me this precision and how do we produce a pet food. And you know what you're describing is exactly that, right? So be very precise in terms of the ingredients. So every, vendor to the food was definitely certified. That was like one thing. But then, as you say, the production process and the homogeneity of the mix going into the kibble, also the vitamin mix, the premix, it was like a science. I mean, this is not, it shouldn't be something like kitchen logic. It should be following a science.
Imagine you're taking a high complex medication that the dose is a specific dose, and when you see like half the tablets are much different, the dose level, you would feel like you're being robbed, being
Absolutely.
played on. And I think
Yeah.
that it's very hard to have a regulatory base to really enforce saying, because I think it's who has more technology would win. And but in the
True.
pet space is not. Maybe it's like who does the nicer marketing, who's maybe
Yeah,
they're not
yeah,
spending and having a high quality product, but they're spending on saying their product is high quality, and the perception of the product is different than the actual product.
yes. So absolutely. So to summarize, what you're saying is a company like yours is going to be consistent with the quality and with a high level of quality. And that's kind of how you build your foundation and how you will continue to build your foundation, correct?
Exactly. We don't open our quality assurances for anything. That's our a given. Even in a world that sometimes uh, the sports books are growing here in Brazil, and the family has less money to pay with higher interest rates, and maybe are changing to cheaper products. But we won't really play on a category that will not attend to the health needs that our brand. If it is to open growth in order to not open our philosophy, we will stand by our philosophy and play the hand that is dealt, then try to tackle a bigger market that might be much more price takers, and focus on just cheaper product just because they don't see the value of. I think it's each every day is harder to describe, because the the marketing has become something that like fancy bags and bags that have
Yeah,
nice claims, but
yeah.
then you see the product doesn't really attend to all those ideologies that are faced in the marketing bag. So I think that's the
That's true.
where ethics really plays a hand.
Yeah, very nice. I'm a decisions and a growth expert, and that's what I always say, right? You have to be consistent in your messaging within your company. You have to be consistent with your values, and you have to live by that, because that at the end of the day is what creates trust with the consumer. And I like that approach of yours, where you say there's no compromise when it comes to quality. Thank you, Fernando.
Thanks, Peggy. I think we started the Natu brand with a slogan which was "Science for the Goodness in Our Pets," which is a lot of our values here in Brazil. However, we also have deep roots in sustainability, and we thought that we could leverage those. So we're now going with better pets, better planet,
Yes.
which showcases what our product stands for. We have third-party verification with climate partners on all our carbon emissions, from farm to shelf, cakes to Prado, I think they call it.
Yeah.
And all that is verified in their website, and we compensate the carbon emissions with a project that helps take ocean-bound plastic from our oceans. So that's a very nice thing that we've done with our brand. I think it's to strive bringing sustainability and health options together, whilst not making a marketing that is negative to anything else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Fernando. Was an incredibly interesting interview, also for everybody watching. I think what you're doing, you're playing on multiple dimensions of values and value propositions, not only towards the consumer, but also to the company ethics you kind of built. So thank you very much for that
Thanks,
interview.
Peggy, and look forward to seeing you in the next show when it comes along.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.